Have you ever tried intermittent fasting and felt like you were fighting your body all day? You skip breakfast, you count the hours, you wait for your eating window to open, and instead feeling lighter or leaner, you feel tired, irritable, foggy, and completely preoccupied with food. If that sounds familiar, this video matters because the problem isn't you. Hi, I'm Zita, a fitness and nutrition coach, and with my partner Terry, a neuropsychology and body image coach, we help people, men and women over 40, to escape diet prison and build the body they love without restrictions or crazy, chaotic cardio sessions. And today I want to explain why intermittent fasting doesn't work long-term for most people, especially women over 40, what the science actually shows and what works better instead. So why intermittent fasting feels so tempting? It feels attractive because it promises simplicity. So it feels like a shortcut, and who doesn't like shortcuts? You will just eat less, you make food choices, and by default you create a calorie deficit without tracking. So early weight loss often happens, but this is largely due to glycogen depletion, water loss, and reduced total intake, not meaningful fat loss. From a behavioral science perspective, fasting can also create a false sense of control, which feels empowering until biology pushes back. And biology always pushes back. So shortcuts have a cost. Now, before we go on, let's look at the difference between intermittent fasting and time restrictive feeding. So intermittent fasting typically refers to prolonged fasting windows, 14, 16, 18 hours, or even more, and often combined with meal skipping and caloric compression. Time-restricted feeding is different. It aligns eating with your body's circadian rhythms, so like a 12 to maximum 14-hour overnight fast, followed by regular meals during the day. And these two approaches are not physiologically equivalent. Most of the metabolic benefits seen in research come from gentle, time-restricted feeding, not aggressive intermittent fasting. So why intermittent fasting stops working? Your body does not interpret prolonged fasting as fat loss optimization. It interprets it as energy uncertainty. When you skip meals, especially in the presence of existing stress, poor sleep, or hormonal transition, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the HPA axis, becomes more active. Cortisol rises, thyroid output can downregulate, resting energy expenditure adapts downward. And this process is known as metabolic adaptation. Especially women over 40, this effect is amplified because estrogen normally buffers stress responses. As estrogen declines, cortisol sensitivity increases, making long fasting windows more disruptive. So you're not burning more fat, you're actually training your body to conserve energy. So extended fasting often leads to greater glycemic volatility, not better control. When blood glucose drops too low during the day, the brain compensates by increasing hunger hormones like ghrelin and reducing satiety signals such as leptin. And this is why so many people experience low energy during the day or intense evening hunger, and then that normally leads to binging, loss of control around food, emotional eating. Whatever you see, you just want to eat it right away. So if you have wondered whether you lack discipline, what I just described is neuroendocrine compensation. So the body prioritizes survival over fat loss every single time. If you tell me that, Zita, I did a 2 to maybe 3 day fast and I felt amazing, so don't tell me that fasting is not working. Okay, so let's dive into why you felt amazing. Because your body temporarily switches fuel systems, and not because fasting magically fixes your metabolism. About 24 to 70 hours without food, 3 things happen. First, your insulin levels drop sharply, which allows your body to release stored energy more easily. Now, this can feel like mental clarity and lightness, especially if you've been eating a high sugar diet before. Second, ketone production increases. Ketones are an alternative fuel for the brain, and they can temporarily boost focus, alertness, and reduce appetite. And that's why people often describe feeling sharp or clear-headed. Third, stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol rise, and this is important because your body is not relaxed, it's alert. And from an evolutionary perspective, This makes sense. If food is scarce, your brain sharpens so you can go and find it. And that alert, energized feeling is a survival response, not proof of the body is thriving long term. And that same stress response, especially elevated cortisol, is exactly why extended fasting often backfires for women over 40. Over time, it can disrupt sleep, increase anxiety, worsen cravings, slow thyroid output, and encourage belly fat storage once normal eating resumes. So yes, people can feel great for a few days, but feeling wired is not the same as being well regulated. There's no strong research consensus that 2 to 3 day fasts a few times per year are actually beneficial or recommended for the general population. And for women over 40 in particular, evidence suggests caution rather than endorsement. Long-term fat loss requires hormonal safety, consistency, and nourishment. For example, one of our clients, Sarah, is a perfect example. She treated intermittent fasting like a strict school rule. During calm periods, it worked for her. A little, but during stressful periods, everything fell apart. It was like trying to balance on one foot during an earthquake. So when she started on our 3-step fat loss reset pathway, we stopped fasting and focused on regular meals, and her body relaxed. And that is when the weight finally started coming off. We didn't strive for quick fixes, but for a sustainable fat loss journey that fit into her extremely busy medical doctor's life. So now let's see what happens with 14+ hour fasts in women over 40. When 14 to 18 hour fasting windows are repeated chronically, research shows increased cortisol exposure, reduced insulin sensitivity in some women, disrupted sleep architecture, greater risk of binge restrict cycles, impaired training recovery and muscle retention. Muscle loss is particularly important here because muscle is a primary regulator of metabolic rate and glucose disposal. Loss of lean mass is one of the strongest predictors of fat regain in midlife. And if you are still with me and telling me that I still want to do my 2-day fast to detox my body or cleanse my system, let's talk more about this. Your body doesn't need fasting to detox. It already does that perfectly well 24/7. Your liver chemically transforms toxins so they can be eliminated. Your kidneys filter blood and excrete waste via urine. Your gut removes waste through stool. A wee poo-poo. Your lungs remove volatile compounds via breathing. And your skin, it's a minor role, but it does remove toxins via sweat. These systems do not turn off and need rebooting. They also do not become more effective simply because you stop eating. According to research, prolonged fasting can reduce the very nutrients detox pathways actually depend on. So why this feels like willpower failure? It actually isn't. But when intermittent fasting fails, people assume I didn't stick to it, I broke my fast, I ruined my progress, and so on. But what actually happening is identity erosion. Repeated cycles of restriction followed by overeating weaken self-efficacy, the brain's belief that you can actually follow through. This is where neuropsychology matters. When your nervous system feels under threat, consistency collapses, not because you're weak, but because the brain is protecting you. So is there any time when fasting can make sense? Fasting is not inherently harmful, but it is context dependent. Short-term, medically supervised fasting may be appropriate for those who have severe metabolic disease, significant obesity, or clinical insulin resistance. As a lifestyle strategy, especially for women over 40, aggressive fasting is rarely sustainable or beneficial. It is like using a sledgehammer when you need a screwdriver. For most people, something much gentler works far better. So let's see what actually works instead. The overnight fast. Your body already fasts every night, as we discussed in the time-restricted feeding section earlier. You do not need to force it. You just need to respect it. A 12 to maximum 14-hour overnight fast is like letting your phone charge fully instead of unplugging it every hour. It supports blood sugar, your hormones, and your digestion without setting off alarm bells. Fat loss works best when your body feels safe. Regular meals with enough protein are like showing up on time every day for someone you really care about. So trust builds, stress goes down, progress becomes possible, and this is what allowed Sarah to stop fighting her body and start working with it. Everyone needs a lifestyle they can actually live with. So I'm asking you, can you keep doing whatever you have been doing to lose fat when life gets busy, stressful, and unpredictable? Because life always does. A successful fat loss strategy shouldn't depend on perfect weeks, endless motivation, or willpower. It should fit into real life, workdays, social events, tired mornings, and messy schedules. And if you are wondering, does your approach really work? We already know it does. We've seen it work again and again with real clients using our 3-step fat loss reset pathway. Our approach is built to feel like a pair of shoes you can walk in every day. Supportive, flexible, and reliable. Not something you white knuckle through. Not something you tolerate until you eventually give up. So fat loss is not about being tougher, it is about being smarter. Prolonged intermittent fasting often fails because it asks your body to live in survival mode. And survival mode is not where long-term change happens. We've left links below where you can learn more about our one-to-one coaching and see if we are the right fit. If this video helped you understand why things haven't worked before, like and subscribe, and check out the next video here where I break down exactly how to lose fat after 40 without extremes.